25 Great Depression barter deals. No one makes any more. When cash dried up, survival meant trade. Eggs paid barbers, wood paid doctors, and farm labor bought meat. But how did ordinary families turn desperation into an underground economy that kept America alive? Let's uncover forgotten deals that replaced dollars. 25. Eggs for haircuts kept families groomed when wallets were empty. Barbershops became mini exchanges during the 1930s. A dozen eggs, worth about 18 cents, could cover a trim or shave when cash was scarce. Farmers often arrived with baskets instead of bills, and barbers gladly accepted since eggs always sold quickly. This trade kept men looking respectable for job interviews or Sunday church, where appearance meant opportunity. Eggs weren't just food. They were currency, exchanged daily in small towns where haircuts, like dignity, couldn't wait for the economy to recover. 24. Firewood traded for doctor visits warmed homes and healed bodies. Doctors were vital but costly. House calls ran $2 to $3, nearly a week's groceries. In lumber-rich areas, families stacked cords of firewood as payment. A few hours chopping timber could settle medical debts, keeping both patient and physician supplied through the winter. Records show some rural doctors accepted wood as their primary pay, burning it to heat offices. This barter tied survival directly to labor. The cure for pneumonia or a broken arm often arrived bundled with a stack of logs. 23. Sewing repairs swapped for groceries, stocked family tables. Skilled with a needle, women turned sewing into survival currency, repairing torn trousers, patching work shirts, or hemming dresses could earn flour, potatoes, or canned beans. In cities, tailors stitched for storekeepers and left with groceries instead of cash. Diaries note mothers mending dozens of garments each week in exchange for bread loaves. Clothing durability mattered more than fashion, and sewing kept families both clothed and fed. Every patch told two stories, one of thrift and one of dinner secured. 22nd, mechanic work exchanged for rent credit kept roofs overhead. Cars still broke down, even in the Depression, and mechanics often worked for landlords. Fixing a Model A's transmission or replacing tires could earn a month's rent credit. Skilled hands kept roofs overhead when cash wasn't possible. Many landlords preferred services to chasing unpaid rent. In rural areas, tenants repaired tractors or wagons in lieu of payment. Mechanics' wrenches became bargaining chips, proving that knowledge of engines could hold equal value to dollars when keeping families sheltered mattered most. 21. Coal traded for school supplies fueled both stoves and mines. Coal was black gold in the 1930s, heating homes, powering stoves, and often paying bills. Miners frequently traded sacks of coal with teachers for school supplies, pencils, slates, or notebooks. A few bucketfuls could cover a child's learning for months. In coal towns, families used wagons to deliver payment directly to classrooms. This barter meant children stayed warm at home and equipped in school. Coal wasn't just energy. It was education's currency, fueling both fires and futures when cash had vanished. 20. Farm labor swapped for butchered meat filled kitchens with protein. Butchers often needed hands during slaughter season, and families paid with labor instead of money. A day helping skin hogs or cut beef sides earned workers a few pounds of fresh meat, sometimes salted for winter. With pork lard selling at 12 cents a pound, this was serious value. In rural America, meat wasn't just dinner. It was energy for survival. Trading sweat for protein gave strength to return to the fields the next morning. Bellies finally satisfied. 19. Chickens or milk traded to teachers covered tutoring fees. Teachers in small towns sometimes accepted livestock as tuition. A hen might secure weeks of after-school tutoring, while jars of milk kept lessons going. Rural school records from the 1930s list payments in kind, a polite way of saying barter. For poor families, education was priceless, but money scarce. Trading chickens kept kids learning without shame, and teachers gained steady food. It was a human contract, one side offering knowledge, the other bringing nourishment in baskets, jars, or feathers. 18. Carpentry labor exchanged for store credit at hardware shops. Skilled carpenters often fixed shelves, built counters, or repaired doors for shopkeepers who then credited them nails, hinges, or tools. Hardware stores, strapped for sales, welcomed the work, while families gained supplies to patch homes or barns. In 1932, lumber prices fell 40%, but nails and hammers still ate up wages. Barter turned skill into stock, no ledger needed. These arrangements blurred the line between customer and craftsman, keeping businesses alive while tradesmen stocked their toolboxes without spending a dime. 17. Garden vegetables swapped for dental work kept smiles intact. Dentistry was expensive. Pulling a tooth might cost $1, cleaning nearly double. Families often paid dentists with crates of vegetables, especially potatoes, onions, or squash, which lasted in storage. Dentists in farm towns accepted produce to feed their families while keeping patients pain-free. During the worst years, vegetables became as valuable as coins, traded for healthy teeth and relief from infection. These swaps weren't luxuries. They prevented deadly abscesses, turning rows of cabbage into life-saving medical payments on the spot. 16. Laundry services bartered for fresh bread and pies. Washing by hand was grueling, yet laundresses traded clean shirts and sheets for loaves of bread or pies from local bakers. Soap, water, and aching hands produced crisp linens, which bakers rewarded with food. A week's washing might equal several loaves, each worth 10 cents. Women kept their families fed through labor that never stopped, scrubbing boards late into the night. Clean laundry bought nourishment, while bakeries gained labor-free trade, a cycle of suds and crusts that held households together. 15 bushels of corn or wheat traded for household tools. Grain was currency on the plains. A bushel of corn fetched around 30 cents, enough to swap for a hammer, bucket, or lantern wick. Farmers hauled sacks directly into hardware stores, where owners weighed them like coins. Barter kept shelves moving when actual sales collapsed. Grain that couldn't bring profit at market still bought the tools needed for survival. Many shops even set posted prices in bushels, proof of just how normal trading crops for iron and steel became. 14. Child care swapped among neighbors freed parents for day labor. When mothers scrubbed offices or fathers hauled coal, children couldn't be left alone. Neighbors exchanged child care, trading afternoons of supervision for a future favor. No money changed hands, but it opened hours of paid work. Census surveys noted women's labor force participation jumped during the Depression, many thanks to these informal swaps. One mother's time earned another's wage, keeping meals on both tables. In neighborhoods bound by poverty, babysitting wasn't a luxury. It was the hidden fuel behind survival. 13. Piano lessons traded for sacks of flour sweetened homes. Music teachers often kept households afloat by accepting flour, sugar, or coffee instead of cash. A sack of flour, priced at $1.50 in the mid-1930s, could cover multiple lessons. Parents paid gladly, knowing music signaled refinement and hope even in hardship. Students practiced scales, while teachers baked bread from their fees. Diaries from the era recall these trades as lifelines, culture for calories. In tough times, keeping art alive was itself an act of resistance against despair. 12. Homemade soap exchanged for lamp oil or candles. Soap makers, usually women with lye kettles, boiled scraps of fat into bars that neighbors gladly bartered. A few cakes of soap might secure lamp oil or candles to stretch evenings after dark. Since electricity often skipped rural homes, light was survival. Soap sold for 5 cents a bar, yet traded higher in barter markets. Cleanliness mattered as much as light, and both carried dignity. In kitchens and farmyards, the trade of suds for flame kept families steady. 11. Canning services swapped for shares of fruit or produce. Not every family owned jars, pressure cookers, or the skill to preserve. Enterprising women offered canning services, trading labor for a share of peaches, beans, or berries. A few hours over boiling kettles turned perishable crops into year-long meals. In 1930, canning manuals circulated widely, teaching barter-savvy homemakers how to stretch surplus into survival. 1 bushel can could yield 24 jars, and the barterer might keep 6 for herself. Food security was preserved, literally, through jars traded for sweat and steam. 10. Knitting sweaters bartered for blankets or quilts. Wool scraps and old yarn turned into sweaters, socks, and mittens became hard currency. A hand-knit sweater could trade for a quilt, each side giving labor-intensive warmth. Yarn cost pennies, but hours of work made garments priceless. Women often knit late by kerosene lamp, fingers aching, to secure bedding or quilts against harsh winters. In barter ledgers, clothing was valued not just by stitches, but by survival. Knitting needles rivaled coins in keeping families alive through bitter cold. 9. Butchering skills traded for shares of livestock meat. Not every farmer knew how to slaughter hogs or dress a steer properly. Skilled butchers offered services in exchange for a portion of the meat. For a single day's work, they might leave with 10 pounds of pork or beef, worth several family dinners. This trade prevented waste and provided safe cuts. By 1935, many small towns scheduled butchering days, where skill replaced cash and everyone shared. Expertise in the slaughterhouse became a ticket to steady protein without money-changing hands. 8. Carpentry and fence repair exchanged for baskets of eggs. Broken fences meant lost livestock, and families gladly paid carpenters in eggs to fix them. A few hours hammering posts or patching chicken coops could earn several dozen eggs, both currency and food. In farm country, eggs were reliable barter because they replenished weekly. With prices fluctuating between 10 to 15 cents a dozen, payment was measurable yet flexible. These small repairs kept animals safe and carpenters fed. Barter turned daily farm upkeep into community survival, each egg earning its way. 7. Horse care or blacksmith work swapped for seed grain. Shoeing horses or sharpening plow blades demanded skill, and blacksmiths often traded labor for sacks of seed grain. 1 reshod horse might equal a bushel of oats, while plow repair earned corn or wheat. Without functioning tools or animals, farms couldn't operate, so smiths held crucial bargaining power. Grain, in turn, kept their own families fed or could be bartered further. In the barter economy, sparks from the forge lit more than iron They secured food for the future. 6. Fishing catches traded for tobacco or coffee. Rivers and lakes provided another kind of paycheck. A morning's catch of trout or catfish could be swapped for luxuries like coffee beans or tobacco, items families craved but couldn't grow. In 1932, coffee prices hovered around 21 cents per pound, unreachable for many without barter. Fishermen brought baskets to general stores, walking out with smoke or caffeine in return. These trades weren't survival staples. They were morale boosters, proving even in hard times, small pleasures still had value. 5. Bee honey exchanged for butter or lard. Honey was liquid gold during the Depression, sweet and long-lasting. A quart could fetch a pound of butter or a slab of lard, items critical for baking and frying. Beekeepers became quiet power players in barter circles, often trading with neighbors who lacked livestock. With sugar prices unstable, honey was more reliable and stored better. Swapping jars for fat balanced sweet with savory, giving families both calories and flavor. Barter made bees as valuable as banknotes in hard times. 4. Ice cut from ponds swapped for cream or milk. Before refrigeration, ice harvested in winter filled ice boxes through summer. Blocks cut from ponds were worth their weight in cream or milk. Farm diaries note neighbors trading sled loads of ice for dairy products, keeping both households happy. A 50-pound block might equal a gallon of cream, ensuring desserts and storage through hot months. This barter preserved food, stretched resources, and made cold milk possible when cash couldn't buy comfort. Ice cutters turned winter's hardship into summertime survival currency. 3. Newspaper subscriptions paid with produce baskets. Local editors often accepted food in place of subscription fees. Families brought baskets of apples, potatoes, or beans to keep the weekly paper coming. One farmer recalled paying with pumpkins for 3 years straight. Newspapers cost around $1.50 annually, but cashless readers swapped crops instead. This trade kept communities informed, ensuring even the poorest stayed connected to world events. Editors ate well, readers stayed educated, and barter tied literacy to the land. Newsprint flowed as steadily as harvest baskets. 2. Stove or tool repair swapped for coal deliveries. A broken stove in winter meant misery, and repairmen often took coal instead of cash. One bucket of coal, worth a few cents, might fix a cracked grate or oil a squeaky hinge. Farmers hauling coal wagons stopped at workshops to settle bills. These exchanges kept workshops heated and households functional. In mining towns, this trade loop was common. Coal paid for repairs. Repairs ensured stoves burned efficiently, and efficient stoves stretched every lump. Barter created warmth where dollars couldn't. 1. Doctor and midwife visits covered by farm goods, and labor professional care didn't stop when money vanished. Doctors and midwives delivered babies, set bones, or treated pneumonia in exchange for chickens, milk, or even labor on their property. A bushel of apples or a day's haying could settle a visit worth $3. Oral histories recall doctors' pantries filled with barter goods instead of bills. Midwives, especially in rural communities, relied on barter almost entirely. Life and death were negotiated in food and sweat, proving care couldn't wait for cash. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed exploring these forgotten barter deals, make sure to like and subscribe for more stories that bring history's survival secrets to life. Stick around and watch our other videos. There's plenty more history worth uncovering together.